Boom, what up, y'all? Welcome to the Soccer Comic Rant. My name is Ian Edwards, and I'm going to try to sound upbeat, but I'm a Manchester United fan, and we got mad problems. The only positive thing is that there was a bust up in the Man United locker room after we lost on Sunday, and my thing is good, because after that game, after watching it, I was like, there better be a player meeting and you know for accountability, and if not a meeting, a bust up. A bust up over a bad game is actually even an improvement on a player meeting because people care, they're pointing figures, and they're clearing the air. So a bust up is good to me. So everybody who fought, losers, winners, finger pointers, good. You know, I heard Bruno got into it with McTominay, good, because I saw McTominay slouching out there and he needed to be called out. And I heard Lindelof got into it with Martinez, but we'll get into all that. We got Champions League. Man City just destroyed some team. I can't even pronounce their name, and they ain't going to be in Champions League long if that's how they got destroyed like that. No disrespect. We're going to talk about Newcastle doing their thing at the San Siro versus AC Milan. Who else played? A bunch of teams played. Leipzig. So we'll get into all that, some of the scores, some of the highlights. We'll get into the games for the weekend coming up. And fresh from a game in the championship, Lee just went to see Southampton play Ipswich. I don't know if it was at Ipswich or at Southampton. So we're going to get, the deal on that. And Neil got on a brand new, fresh, non-sponsored, new Chelsea joint. And this is better than the one he had on last week. The pattern is bananas. If you're listening to the pod, just go to YouTube after and check this jersey out. Like, if they ain't winning on the field, they winning in the closet, because that shit is fly. I'm jealous. And so welcome, y'all. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching on iTunes and all that. What's up, Neil? What's up, Lee? How y'all feeling?
I like how you were so upset over the United game. You went into full rant mode before even introducing us. I hope there was people. I hope there was a bust up in the locker room.
Bro, I've been holding my feelings in because I was on the road, so I couldn't do the podcast on Monday, which y'all was understanding about. So I had to get back today, Tuesday, to do it Tuesday, which was good because we had the Champions League. So at least we got to see the Tuesday games and talk about that. But yeah, man, listen, and I kind of have an idea of like a list of the problems or the issues. But what should we talk about first?
I mean, it was probably the biggest talking point of the weekend, that game, I would say.
That point. And then, we'll go into the champions, then Manchester United facing Bayern after that. So first of all, if we're going to talk about United versus Brighton, the first thing you got to talk about is the Brighton press conference. The post-game, De Zerbi, first thing he said when he sat up there, he said, I am happy to play for a team that has two players in each position. And if you sub one out, there is no drop off. They might have different properties, but you don't lose anything. And when I hear that, and I say, is Manchester United like that? And the answer is no. So I feared this game last week when we talked about it on the podcast, and a lot of Manchester United fans did, and they had a right to, because they're well coached and this team has depth. We don't have no depth. You know what I mean? The only depth we have is in our injury list. Like, our injured team could probably beat our healthy team, like, hands down, as they're injured. And we have a lot of injured players. So here's the thing. I watched the preseason, and the first 11 looks sluggish. I don't know if it's because of how many games we played last season. I think of all the professional top leagues in Europe. I think Manchester United played the most games, and we had we lacked depth then. So then I feel like the break was short, and then we were right back to the preseason. We had the probably the most games in the preseason. We traveled the most, and then we come into the season with all these injuries, and we're getting injuries. Like Wan-Bissaka played 10 minutes on Saturday, and he's out 2 months. You feel me? We as soon as we buy a player, he gets injured during the medical. Like Sofian Amrabat, right? He refused to play for Fiorentina the entire summer because he didn't want to get hurt, because he wanted to come to United. So he didn't play. The deal goes through, we get him, he injured. Isn't that fucking crazy? Like he didn't do he was avoiding getting injured, and as soon as we get him, he's injured. So we can't use him. Mount, 2 games, injured. Wan-Bissaka, injured. Then if you ain't injured, then you're accused of some form of abuse or rape. So then we lose players that way. Who else is injured? Martial
Varane.
is not injured. Say again.
Varane.
Mainu, who is a new kid from the academy. As soon as we decide, all right, we're going to start using him, injured, was fine when he was with the youth system set up. You know what I mean? Then Ahmad, as soon as we say, all right, he did well at Sunderland, we're going to start using him, injured. Shaw, injured. And, listen, other teams have injuries too, but we're trying to build a squad. We lack depth, and this really hurt us. So when you look at the game before that, we lost against Arsenal, and we end the game with Johnny Evans and Maguire. That shows you we lack depth, and especially towards the end of games or even in the middle of games, you need the energy to keep up with these teams because they play with energy, and it's something that we desperately lack. And for some reason, Ten Hag refuses to use our youth. He did in the game against Brighton. He used them too late, but Hedry, who I've been calling for as to give Bruno some type of break, came in and scored right away. I felt he had a great preseason. I thought he was going to start Pellistri, but he didn't. And I think Pellistri is everything we need energy-wise, so we need to use him. So he's just Gore is good. And then, listen, even the players that we have, like Ericsson ain't injured, but he got a pacemaker. A starter's got a pacemaker, bro. A pacemaker. He's got to keep up with regular people without pacemakers. I saw this guy die. He's playing for us. He died for 5 minutes, and he's playing for us. So that's our healthy guy. That's our healthy guy. And then Casemiro, great guy, 31. He's not going to be playing like no 20-something-year-old out there. Bless you. You know what I mean? So it's like, and then McTominay, I don't think he's up to the standard. And the thing that McTominay is known for, he didn't do it in this game. But let's give Brighton some props, man. Like, they're well drilled, they're well trained, they have composure. They turned a guy that we sold probably 8 years ago into a threat. You know what I mean? He wasn't good enough to play for us as a forward, and he comes back at the end of his career when he's old, Welbeck, and he scores against us. You know what I mean? So that's just a good coach. And for some reason, maybe because of everything that I said before, Ten Hag is not getting the energy out of our players. I don't know why, but De Zerbi is definitely getting the energy. The Premier League is about it's a frenetic pace, and we ain't playing at it. I don't think we're set up wrong. Like, I saw a lot of videos talking about how we look tactically, And it's just like at the moments when we were supposed to take the ball away from him, like individuals did not execute. Off it, and I guess one other thing, like one video I saw from 442, like we have created the most high up the field turnovers in the league. We've gotten 11 shots out of it and no goals. So what Ten Hag has trained the team to do, they're doing it, but we're not getting any goals out of it. And so we got to use the youth. We got a ton of injuries, and we're learning a new system. I also don't like how Ten Hag is talking after the press conference. I know that when a coach loses, they sound babbly. After press conferences, they don't sound like they're making a lot of sense. And he keeps pointing to, well, we played good in the first half. And last season, he would never say nothing like that. So that worries me. But that also kind of informs me that he's not being stubborn, but he's trying to play a certain way. And he's trying to insist that that way is working. And it worked up to a certain point because he wants to get United to a point where we just play one way and we don't care who the opponent is. And he's trying to like validate it, which is like last year, it was about results, right? No matter how you get them, just get the results. This year is about we have to develop an identity and a style of play. And I think that's what he's leaning into more so that when we don't get the results, it doesn't sound, he's not mad at the players, but he's trying to like still promote this new system. So I think that's where everything is at. And I just hope people recover and we just get better. Like we had an international break and we got injuries. People didn't even go on an international break and we got injuries. So it's just a bananas time for Man United. What do you guys think?
I mean, like you say, it's the injuries aren't helping. The fact that Brighton are a formidable team these days. It was just a perfect storm of of sort of bad circumstances for you guys because they didn't have one of their off days. Brighton, they came and they were on form. It's crazy. Like I hadn't seen Tariq Lamptey play for them for ages, and they threw him in, and he got 2 assists from fullback. So yeah, the depth is working for them.
Chelsea.
Yeah, blame Neil for that one. But it's it's a tough spot for United, and I think things hinge on such crucial decisions and like marginal decisions as well. So obviously last time there was was it offside or not offside with Garnacho. This time it's like the ball on the line when Rashford was crossing it for Højlund to score his first goal, which then got taken away. If that goes in, that's 1-1. Maybe you get some confidence. Maybe you grow into the game and you can get something out of it. But that goal got chalked off. Then you end up losing 3-0. So it's football. It hinges on those moments. And I'll get into it later. But one of the things I saw with Southampton tonight is teams who, when one of those big moments doesn't go their way, they then kind of lose their heads a little bit. And that's
our
the
identity.
thing, I think.
That's United's identity. Heads down. That we were playing good. They scored, and that's one thing that Ten Hag did point to in the press conference as a legit like criticism. He says character. He mentioned that point in the game and character. I didn't know Southampton was doing that too. That's not good. How do you even get that out?
I don't know if there's already a sports psychologist working with the players, or if one needs to come in, or if the players need to just all sit in a room without the manager and have some conversations. Because as a manager, you can't really give players that if they don't have it. You can talk to them. You can get them kind of saying the right things. But there's a difference between saying the right things and doing the right things. So it's a tough one. But you've got players in that team who've been like part of winning teams and should have a winning mentality. You got Casemiro in there. He played at the weekend. Bruno has been part of winning teams, like won the Euros and stuff. He's won trophies with you guys. Rashford's won trophies with you guys. There's players in there who should get that, but it just seems as a collective it's not happening, which is always a worry.
Yeah, and then a lot of people were attacking Rashford and said he didn't pass, but Rashford in the opening 10 minutes of the game went down the left side and put it on a plate, buttered the bread, and put it like, when somebody's making a penalty kick, put the ball right there for Højlund to put the tap in, and Højlund fell. And I'm not dissing Højlund because he's a brand new player and I believe in him, but the fans who are attacking Rashford, I think Rashford had a good game. And he also created that goal, which Lee is referring to as a margin call, that they said the ball was completely out when he crossed it in. So like that, don't say. And there was this other play, somebody posted photos online, and it was when we was in the second half, Højlund got the ball to Rashford. Rashford had a guy in front of him, and Højlund had a guy on him. There was no pass on, and Rashford took a shot, hit the side net. There's like, he should have passed. Nah, there was no pass on. That would have been blocked. The point you were trying to make that he should have passed it, those photos you posted actually proved he shouldn't have passed it. The guy that was marking Højlund was on to that pass. So we need more energy. We need to play 100% of the game. Like I saw Man City play today in Champions League and nobody let up. Like, and even in the weekend, I saw Julian Alvarez running back and defending for Man City. We need that type of energy, but I'm saying, like, one guy's 30-something years old, the other guy's 30-something years old with a pacemaker, and everybody else is injured. And so we play the kids. You got to play the kids. And another thing about us, which De Zerbi's words point out to, is like, not only is everything going right for the Brighton on the field, but their whole organization from top to bottom is better than ours. And even though the Glazers put so much, like, I would like to 100% shit on the Glazers, but I have to admit that they put some money in the club, but they have definitely spent it wrong. So that's still on them. And it's like, a manager, for the amount of money we spend, a manager should come into our, like, we should be able to just do what Chelsea used to do. Just get a manager, a good one, that fits what we need and what we have, and come in, and like, we should be off to the races. Like, a manager should be able to come to the club and have an advantage immediately. And so we're not set up for that. So I guess that's still on the Glazers. And we still don't have the squad. So, yeah. What were you going to say, Neil?
No, I mean, I think the panic with United has more to do with the circumstances around the team, not just the performances and the results. Yes, because the results don't look great, and the position in the points table doesn't look great. But you got to understand that United had a pretty bad schedule, like at the beginning of the season. If 5 games in, you've already faced Liverpool, Tottenham, Brighton. They're among the best teams right now.
Yeah. And I agree with this. Arsenal, Arsenal and Tottenham, both in London, both at their home.
And Brighton.
And Brighton ain't no joke.
You shouldn't, neither United or Chelsea should expect to beat Brighton right now. Brighton is not just one of the best runs teams in England. I think they're probably one of the best runs, clubs in Europe. And they've figured out that only 11 can play. So no matter how costly your players you think they are, so you eventually need to get the best out of the 11 players on the park, right? And you look at that team, everything works in sync. And like, they're actually doing even a better job than some team like Man City or Arsenal. in terms of a lot of their underlying metrics. So, I think any fan that thinks that United goes into a game against Brighton as favorites is fooling themselves right now. But
I don't think
and there were two other games. You won those two games, right? So hold on to those positives, I guess, for now.
That's all we can cling to. The funny thing about you is that you're a voice of reason when we're dropping points.
Yeah.
And I can't say you're not a voice of reason when Chelsea's dropping points.
No, so, I'll come to why Chelsea is. You see what I spoke about the schedule when it comes to United?
Go ahead.
Such a tough schedule. Chelsea had the easiest schedule in the first 5 games of any team in the Premier League. So, I did hear that. So that you're still 13, 14, whatever, that's where it's a matter of concern. But I think United, there's too much flux. I mean, like, so many things going on. Like, Ten Hag, he hasn't helped himself in a few ways, but especially with Jadon Sancho, I think he wants Sancho to, make his peace or whatever, say sorry. But I think Ten Hag has some culpability there too, because he's the guy who first went public with his comments on Sancho. So I think there he can help himself a little bit. But a lot of the other things have kind of been hoisted on him. So and as you're saying, like, the injuries don't help. So he's not able to get any rhythm going in the squad. It'll take some time. I think what's happening right now is both from pundits, fans, the fan base itself, and rival fans. Everybody gave Ten Hag a free hit last season. So now everybody's eager to, they're just rubbing their hands because, it's not going to be yet another free hit this season.
Right. So. Yeah, and I think he was more, we see you. What's up, Martin? I think Ten Hag was more results orientated in the first season. I think you have to be. And now, like I said, he's trying to play the system, but it's a rough time, coincidentally, and to try it, but he might have to make an adjustment, and that's either get more defensive and go back to what we did last year, or play the goddamn kids. But I still think he's the right coach. I still think he's been affected by some things, and like you said, I don't think he's made 100% the right decisions. And so I'm never all in with even God. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like God has made mistakes. Like, how else would he improve and be God? You know what I mean? So if he can, Ten Hag could. So what's up, Martin? Just want to say what's up to Martin, stand-up comic / actor, and the only guy whose team has won this weekend on the podcast. Spurs is doing good, and I hate that I like his coach. And is a cool-ass dude, and you don't deserve him. And you know why you don't deserve him, Martin? Because he wasn't the type of guy you wanted in the first place. I remember before the season started, I was like, you need the new Pochettino, the guy that nobody knows about, but has the ability.
Chelsea got the new Pochettino.
Yeah, but you didn't.
No, Pochettino got the new Chelsea.
I mean, the new Spurs, because that's where we are headed right now.
Hilarious. So, Martin, how you feel about your team, man? And where you at? You won this
I feel great about my team, but I think I'm a little bit late, so I missed talking about your team, which I would love to put my.
Go ahead. You're from Eastern Europe. Let's hear your propaganda about Manchester United.
Well, it's not propaganda. We spoke before, and I'll try to be as serious as I possibly can be in that subject. I stand by what I said before on this podcast, that this is a massively underachieving club for the last decade or so, and I don't see any solution in the horizon. I think Ten Hag is a wrong solution. I think that we need to point out one specific thing. He's not a locker room guy. It doesn't look like the players really want to fight for him. It doesn't look like there's a good atmosphere on the pitch. He had conflict with Cristiano Ronaldo. Cristiano Ronaldo said in explicit almost words what he thought about Ten Hag in this famous interview with what's the name of the British
Piers Morgan.
Piers Morgan. He said a few things about Ten Hag that kind of add up right now.
What?
That he tries to be the main guy, the biggest star in the room, and he's not. Like the players are. A good manager knows how to find his position in the team, especially
But that's an egomaniac's opinion.
Yeah, but he deserves to be a egomaniac, and Ten Hag doesn't. So far, he only won in Eredivisie, which is not a top league. He's not even on the level.
He won the FA Cup last year.
He won the Carling Cup last year. The Carabao Cup.
It's not that big of a deal, I would say so.
It is.
Not big of a deal. Especially when you're a manager of Manchester United.
Martin, what is Spurs want?
Guys, let me finish.
Uh-huh.
Especially when we talk about someone who had no major accomplishments prior to getting the job at Man U. And it's the same with the Spurs manager. True. They have very similar resume. The Spurs manager and the Ten Hag prior to coming to Manchester United. This guy won at Celtic, this guy won at Ajax. Both not great leagues, right? But the thing I like about our manager, he doesn't seem to have too much of an ego. He seems like a genuinely nice guy. With Ten Hag, he beefed with Ronaldo. Now he's beefing with Sancho. I don't see it. I really don't.
So, Mark, let me ask you a question. What league did Alex Ferguson coach in before he came to Manchester United?
He won a Cup Winners' Cup with Aberdeen. It's a big success.
But what league was that?
Scottish League was strong at the time. It was a strong league.
Let me ask you a question. Where did Pep coach before he took over the main Barca? Where was he? Barca B?
But he was a Barca legend. That's more of a Solskjaer situation where I felt like Solskjaer deserved more of a chance at United. He did well. I think he was fired prematurely.
Every coach has an origin story. Like what you're saying would eliminate any coach from becoming a coach. And then you're also ignoring the fact that when you had Pochettino, you thought he was great. And Ten Hag made it to the semifinals and actually lost to you guys of the Champions League on no budget. So you can't say you don't. What you're saying makes no sense. You just don't like Ten Hag. This is just propaganda. You're not thinking this out. You don't sound logical.
I'm judging by what I'm seeing, and a lot of pundits are saying the same stuff, including Roy Keane.
Roy Keane didn't say that.
He's not a young manager, too. Pochettino was much younger. He's not a young manager, man. It's like there's not that much. He got
the Spurs coach looks older than Ten Hag. Have you seen him?
He's a funny guy, though.
Yeah, I love him, and I hate that
He's also a diehard cricket fan, and so that keeps you young.
Well, I knew there was something wrong. I knew there were at least two things wrong with him. But that's he's Australian.
Going back to menu, I'm there's a lot of doubt about Ten Hag, his rotations, his treatment of players. It just doesn't look like a team fighting for the coach at the moment. It feels like a bunch of individuals. And I just sent you guys the story that was in today's newspapers that there was a big fight after the game in the locker room.
And I love that. I love that.
Fernandes jumped at McTominay, and then I think Lindelof and someone else were fighting. So
wait, so can you explain what happened? What's the bust up? Because I saw you sent an article, but I didn't get a chance to read it.
So Fernandes apparently jumped at McTominay after the game, and then someone jumped at Lindelof after that.
Martinez.
Yeah, Martinez at Lindelof.
Good, Martin. Good. You wanted them to just go home and act like the loss to Brighton at home was fine? No, you go at each other's throats. You clear the air. Like it's an equivalent to a players only meeting. I'm happy they fought because that means they know something's wrong and that they at least are trying to fix it before they even left the building after the defeat. I think that's a perfect type of bust up after that type of result. So I'm happy that happened. That's the best news that's happened to Manchester United this whole season. So
Also, it could be a little overplayed too, because everybody knows that this is not a good time, right? It's the perfect fertile grounds for people to take a little bit of something and make it into a big deal. I'm sure once a game happens the way it did, people are not patting themselves on the back in the dressing room. There must have been some harsh words said, but I don't think it's a crisis situation as Martin would like to call it.
Let's just call it propaganda, Martin.
Losses in first 5 games of the season for the team contending for the title. That's a crisis.
Not if you played or paid attention to the Premier League before. Like, Lee said it best. That, there's teams that appear at the top of the table at the beginning of the season that sometimes end up battling for relegation to stay in the league. So what am I going to say? I'd rather this happen to us early than later, bro.
I don't know. You're at this point 9 points behind City and 7 behind Spurs.
Everybody's 9 points behind City, even the teams that are 2 points behind them. It's City. You know what City did this weekend? They played a Doku. And in the Champions League game, they played some kids I didn't even know. And I was like, where did they get these little motherfuckers from? And they looked perfect. Like, Man City's uncatchable. Like, Jack Grealish, he may play half the amount of games that he played last season, this season. Because Doku, if I'm saying his name wrong, right? He's a right-sided player. They played him on the left. And he looked better than Grealish immediately, who had a really good season last year. So good luck to him. Like, their best player, Kevin De Bruyne, is injured. They don't even miss him. They're like, Kevin who? So you might be only 2 points behind them now. But trust me, you are more than 2 points behind them. And so is everybody.
Which is not good, because your teams, yours.
We never came into the season expecting to win. This is a project, not to win the title. We didn't.
Okay, so let me ask you this: Ole Gunnar Solskjaer finished second, and since then, and he was fired. So the improvement has to be winning the title, right?
Yeah, but next year.
What's the point?
But next year, it's a project.
I don't know.
You want to fire it, Martin? You're crazy, bro.
Because you always say next year. It's been over 10 years, man. It's just not working.
Yeah, but this coach.
We're talking about Ten Hag.
You're talking about Ten Hag.
I'm talking about Ten Hag, but it's not only Ten Hag. It's also the owners. It's also the sporting directors.
Nobody disagrees with you on that. Nobody disagrees with you on that. I think even the people you're talking about agree on that. Like, what can they say? I don't know I don't even know what you mean by that. You got to explain that joke.
Well, I mean, I don't think he's the guy for the job. That's what I'm saying. So.
And you know what? He might not be, but I don't believe that right now.
I liked Oli. I think that was premature, and it was a classic. It's a classic example of, like, there are jokes about the girls in Los Angeles that are always looking for the better fit, and they'll never find it because there's no better fit. They always keep, this guy, no, he needs to be richer, he needs to be more handsome, he needs to be this, he needs to be that. Solskjaer was perfect guy for the rebuilding project, and he was the perfect guy to get United over the line to win this first title. Now you bring a guy who is already not a young manager, who didn't really win anything. He was not in a high pressure situation ever in his career, and now he's losing it.
I think we can pull up the tape.
And then now he's losing with Sancho. This is a terrible situation with Sancho.
So we fired Ali because he was at the top of the league. Is that what you're saying?
No, but he was made.
Where was he win-wise when we fired him, bro? You think he was third?
He had one really bad loss, and that was the emotional response to this bad loss against Liverpool. But Ten Hag also lost to Liverpool last season.
Martin, you think it was one loss? I think we were like 10th or 8th, bro.
No, now you're 14th.
Now we're 13th.
It's 13th.
But it was later on in the season.
Martin, you didn't even like Ole when he was here.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I always liked him. I felt like, you know, he was inexperienced, but now looking back, I felt like they should have let him grow into the position. They should have.
Yeah,
let
I mean,
him.
he
You know
got
what,
a
man?
good 3 years. It's not like they
Yeah.
fired Ole in the
And
first 6
he
months or
finished
something.
and he finished second.
He finished
And
second,
Martin,
and then he regressed, and then they got rid of him. It's pretty similar to what happened to Lampard. at Chelsea.
He finished second. He finished second in the season when almost every other team fell off.
Martin, why don't you hire him? Why didn't you fight for him
He's
when
not
you were looking for a coach?
He's not a Tottenham legend. I'm sure I would like us to hire Harry Kane.
Neither is Ange. Like, what are you saying? You're not making any sense. You just like talking. It's hilarious.
I feel like from all the managers that you guys had after Ferguson, he was the only one that really made sense, and all the other hirings didn't make much sense. No,
Bro, the coach we hired right after him just won something in his first season and finished second, third. You're amazing.
Yeah, I mean, Ten Hag, what Ten Hag did in his first season, like if Postecoglou, I hope I'm getting him right, does that at Spurs, he would be the toast of the town. Like, he'd be the best Tottenham manager ever, or at least in I don't know, in a long time. So
since TV went color.
So Ten Hag at United has already done what is possibly the ceiling for Postecoglou at Spurs.
Why?
Hilarious.
Pochettino finished second with Spurs.
Yeah, but Ten Hag finished top 4, which is the ceiling for any.
Pochettino did it 3 years in a row or 4 years in a row. So,
but he also won a trophy, which Pochettino never did. So that's what I'm saying. If Postecoglou does what Ten Hag did, you're gonna build him a statue. The groundwork's gonna begin. People are gonna be carving out pieces of stone.
Well, let me
the
tell
moment
you
the
this,
season
you know,
ends.
we'll definitely build a statue of Pochettino sooner than Chelsea fans. I'll tell you that.
No, I heard you guys are planning to boo Pochettino when you play him.
Yeah, I think we should move.
Well, and given how things
League.
are going, the Chelsea fans might join you.
Hilarious. I hope they don't.
No,
let's go.
You asked me about the Spurs initially, so let me just say this. I'm very happy. Of course, I understand this is a transitioning season, and we are overachieving right now. And the next game against Arsenal will be very, very, very difficult for Spurs. Very, very, very difficult for sure. And but you listen, I'm happy. 4 out of 5 wins and 13 points with a team that wasn't supposed to do anything special this season. You know, we're ahead of the schedule. You know, and I like some young players that we brought in. I feel like Bissouma and Sarr are very good as our defensive midfield. I think Maddison is obviously promoted himself into a starting lineup of England national team. That says something. I feel like even Richarlison, that I'm not very fond of, although I kind of had to change my mind, to change my position after what he said about struggling with depression. I'm very, obviously that makes me look at him differently, because it's a struggle, and he said that, and I'm wishing him well. Hopefully he'll do better, and he already did something good for us last weekend. So I like the direction. I know that it's premature. I know that there will be tougher moments probably in the season, but so far I'm happy.
You should be happy, and that's definitely growth for you to admit the prematurity of the schedule and where you're at the season. So that shows you've even grown. So, but yeah, it's early, but you're in a good spot. So what do you honestly think? Where is this game this weekend between Arsenal? Is that at the Emirates, or is it? No, sorry. What do you think of your chances going down there to play Arsenal? It's the biggest game of the weekend.
We have to play in a counter-attacking football. We had to play. I hate to say that, we have to play like you guys did against them in the first half of your game at Emirates, but hopefully finishing better. Just counter them with our fast wings and protect the defensive line with Sarr and Bissouma probably playing a little bit more back, a little bit more defensively this game, and just hopefully we'll catch them on some of the breaks and score.
So you think Ange should go out of their style and everything that they've been training for and counter?
Just play a little bit more counter. I would say be more a little bit more conservative against Arsenal, because Arsenal are good in dictating the game at Emirates, but I think they're struggling defensively a little bit. I don't think they're as compact defensively as they were. So I think we can catch them. We can score. For sure we can score. Now the key is not to let those guys like Saka, I'm not that worried about Havertz, but he's a quality player. You never know. But Saka or Odegaard, don't let them too much space.
Lee, do you think it was the right thing for Arteta to bench Havertz last weekend?
I mean, he got the win, so he's vindicated. It's a talented squad that they've got, so I think every player there will be subject to that. He did it with Ramsdale in goal as well. He brought Raya in, and
you're ex-goalkeeper. Who you feeling, Raya or Ramsdale? And what do you think of? I can't remember if we discussed this before. Just him buying him, period, and creating a potential, headache.
I mean, I think it's always good. Like, competition pushes people. It depends on the mentality of the players involved, because I think there's some keepers who they perform best knowing that they're the first choice and that the next person's the understudy, and they can just know that they're going into every game every week playing, and that suits some people. Some people will perform their best results in that environment, and also some people need to be pushed. But he's got two number one Premier League quality goalkeepers there. I think they have slightly different skill sets. I think Ray is a little bit better with his feet, and he's a little bit more imposing than Ramsdale at times. But Ramsdale's just an excellent shot stopper as well, and just a very good all-round keeper as well. So it's tough. I don't think there's much in it between them. They've got Champions League this week against PSV tomorrow, so it'd be interesting to see if he goes back to Ramsdale for that, or if he sticks with Raya, and then who he plays in the next league game as well, because I don't know if he's just chopping and changing. But I mean, Raya got the clean sheet. They scored a goal. It wasn't Havertz, so he's justified in the selection, I think. And I watched a bit of that game, and they looked comfortable enough. Everton had a couple of opportunities, but I think if Arsenal had been a little bit sharper, they would have scored more. They had a goal disallowed, which is a little bit harsh. Martinelli finished well, so yeah. I mean, Trossard, when he came on, just looked great as well. So it is what it is. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that one plays out over the course of the season. It's hard to really judge it after one game. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see if Havertz does come good there, because I've been disappointed with him so far. I mean, he had that great chance against United where he just air kicked and missed the ball. So yeah, he's not found his feet there. He's not found his feet there yet, but he's surrounded by really good players in an environment that's a little bit more stable than the one he was in at Chelsea. So I think that should get him back to his best, especially the fact that he's not having the pressure heaped on him of being a number 9 as well.
All right. I feel like we should go to Champions League and then come back to the Premier League. So, I watched PSG versus Dortmund, and I guess one of the big things was that handball against was that Sue, the ex-Bayern player, and it was just like his second handball, and I think that's why the ref gave it a handball, because the first one wasn't a handball, and this one kind of wasn't a handball. Yeah, the ball hit his hand, but that's the hand he was going to use to fall and break his fall, and the ball was kicked onto his hand. What did you guys see this? And what do you think of that call? Because it kind of just, PSG definitely had created most of the chances all the game. They had more control of the game. They couldn't break through. But even though they scored another goal later, do you think this should have been a penalty? I don't think it should have been a penalty.
I mean, I'm just having a look now. I've only had a chance since I got back in from the Southampton game. I've only had a chance to watch the highlights from the City and Newcastle games. So
No,
I'm just having a
no
look a little.
excuse. No excuse, Lee. I don't care if you went to see Ipswich versus Southampton in the championship. How dare they play on Champions League Day? How is the championship playing on Championship Day? That's the type of weird shit they do down there.
I mean, I'm grateful no one
They
else
have
is
like a
paying
million
attention to
games
our
to get
game.
over.
Say again?
Yeah.
They have like a million games to finish by the end of the season.
I know. They said they have to play them
They gotta play all the
anytime they can. Yeah.
The Queen can't keep dying. The championship needs to go on.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I didn't get a chance to see the game too. I was following the Milan game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Milan. Yeah. Why did you watch the AC? Or were you very interested in the AC Milan game because of the ex-Chelsea players?
Yeah, that's like Chelsea, Chelsea part two. And they kind of played like Chelsea because they had like a million shots, they had a million chances, and then they couldn't score. So
Yeah, they dominated.
that makes sense.
That's hilarious.
But like Newcastle, this is going to be an interesting season for Newcastle because even though obviously they're a far better team now since the takeover, right? And they have now established themselves as a legitimate top four contender, at least, at the very least, at least top four contender, right? But they haven't had the greatest start to the season. They're still playing well, but it could be that, so they got Tonali in, right? But they haven't made a lot of splash in the transfer market. So you still have, Longstaff, Murphy starting in the Champions League for Newcastle. So there might be a case that they've already hit their peak, and unless they do something drastic, they can only about sustain that peak, or maybe even regress. So
define something drastic, like.
Well, drastic. Like they have, if they do get a few game changers in attack, they have Isak, but Isak has his good days and bad days. He's still a project. If they get somebody like that, they have Nick Pope in goal, for example. Nick Pope was, I think he was the best keeper last season in the league, but he's been, he's had an injury, and I don't think that defense has helped him a lot too, because this is the best defense in the league last season. I don't think they've hit that standard that they set
last season
so far. So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting, that second season phenomenon, right? Like it can really happen. It's hurt a lot of teams in the past.
Well, it started when the coach first got there, because by the half of the season when he got there, like in January-ish, like they won the second most amount of games, and then it went into last season and they qualified for Champions League. So Eddie Howe is doing a good job, but their approach is not like Man City. Like when Pep got to Man City, there were some big names there already, and then he started adding these pieces.
They won the title with Mancini before,
Man City was a big team before Pep got there.
And Pellegrini won another title with them, so I think.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Newcastle is like trying a different approach. It's like they're not, they got Tonali. Did they get somebody else this summer that's like an Italian player? Or was it just Tonali? They got somebody else.
They got a couple of young guys, right? They got Livramento, they got Lewis Hall, stuff like that. So I don't know if they got any big guys.
Well, maybe they are ahead of their schedule based on what they bought.
They're totally ahead of their schedule, because they made Champions League at their first time of asking, basically. And
the first full season.
Yeah.
Howe. Yeah.
Exactly. But the only question now is, if they regress, how does the ownership take it? Like if they don't even make Europe, like if they don't make Champions League, they don't make Europa League, does the ownership then go, well, Eddie, you had your time to move on?
I think
That's the
they'll
thing
just
though.
spend.
Like
Go ahead.
the top of the league is so competitive. Like top four buys this year, especially as well. Like it's hard to pick who would finish in that top four right now based on the start of the season. The only certainty is that City will be either first or worse second. That's pretty much the only certainty there is, in my opinion.
I think City's going to finish first and second. That's how good they are.
Yeah, it's crazy. Just going back to the PSG Dortmund game, I've just watched that incident. Not a handball for me. Harsh penalty.
Yeah, I think the refs got it wrong.
Dude's arms were by the side.
Yeah, they were out a little bit.
Like they weren't out there. Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't like a bird. You know what I mean? He's like it's like when you draw a stick man and your hands are just by your side and they, but but PSG, big club, bigger than Dortmund, and they got some calls their way. They had a lot of players of interest that I wanted to see. I hadn't seen Dembele with PSG all year. I wanted to see him with Mbappe. I wanted to see Kula Moani, whose name I'm butchering. And then their midfield, like their coach is Enrique, right? And he uses young players when he was coaching just for Spain. Like he had Gavi and Pedri. He has these two young midfielders playing for PSG now because he has experience with the Barcelona youth system, and basically when he just finished coaching Spain's like men's team, it was like a youth team. He had Fati and all these kids, and now he has what's his name, Bitna? Can somebody?
Vitina, Portuguese kid. Yeah, he's class.
How old is he? Like 18 or something?
No. He's a little bit older than that. But because I saw him last year when I saw them play Marseille live. He's a really good player, but he's 23.
He's 23.
He just looks like he's 12.
Yeah, he looks young as shit. But the other guy, Raya, he's like 17. And I think the coach last year kind of injected him into the team a little bit, but he's young as shit. He was like another midfielder. And it's like, there's a youth experiment with a kind of like other players that ain't exactly young. And they got the defenders from before, and they got Mbappe. And so it's going to be interesting. I just kind of wanted to see them. And then there's players on Dortmund that I love, like Netanyahu, whose name I'm butchering again, and Brant, who's a baller. So, it wasn't the greatest game.
I watched the highlights of the Barca game as well, and that's interesting because I saw their highlights at the weekend too, because they won 5-0 back to back. They beat Betis 5-0 at the weekend, and they beat Antwerp 5-0 tonight. And it's quite interesting that Chelsea can't score for shit, but João Felix has gone to Barca and he's scoring for fun now. He got 2 tonight. He got 1 at the weekend.
Has he scored more goals in less games for Barca than he did the entire loan spell?
Yeah, because I think he scored 3 or 4 at Chelsea.
Well, he's at 3 already, and he had an assist today. Yeah. And it's like he's not missing the chances that he missed at Chelsea, which all the players at Chelsea, like even you put the thing in the highlight of Callum Hudson-Odoi scoring a goal, like an ex-Chelsea player. Lamptey had 2 assists. It's like if the players are like, if you don't want us, Chelsea, we'll go somewhere else and prove that you should have used us and played us. And good luck to all these new people you're bringing in.
Yeah, he scored 4 goals at Chelsea, and I think how many did he score today? 1 or 2?
2 today.
2 today. Yeah.
So he's got 3 already at Barca.
Mm-hmm.
How many games did he play for Chelsea to get those 4 goals?
11 starts, 16 games and all.
And in 2 games, maybe 3.
Yeah.
For Barca.
Yeah.
And he's not the main guy because you guys played him as a 9, right?
Did last season even happen? Like I don't really know.
I think y'all played him as a false 10.
There's a fault, something.
There's a false something, but yeah, he was on like the left today.
Yeah.
Which is by the way, which is the position that Barca was completely different last year because they had Ansu Fati, they had Dembele, and Dembele was playing very well with Lewandowski. So Lewandowski was struggling at the beginning of the season because he didn't have Dembele, who was the one who knew how to find him. And
Yeah.
now it's a different dynamic because João Felix he likes to finish himself, and you have Lewandowski who is not scoring, but now he's fourth in 3 games in a row, but he's not scoring as much as he did early in the season last season. So yeah.
Right. I'm going to run through the rest of the scores for the Champions League today. The Milan, Newcastle 0-0, Young Boys, Leipzig 3, Young Boys 1, PSG 2, Dortmund 0, Shakhtar Donetsk 1, Porto 3, Man City 3. Where is this team from? Israel?
No, it's essentially it's Red Star from Serbia.
That's what they were saying.
Serbia.
So what happened?
But they're calling them they go by their sort of Serbian name.
Crvena Zvezda, yeah.
Yeah.
But why? What happened? Give me some, like, why the name changed? Because they were saying Red Star, which I can easily pronounce, but now on TV, it's this name that I can't pronounce, and on this app on Google. So why the name change, Martin?
I don't think they changed the name. I think they probably
It's just a Slavic way of saying it, isn't it?
Slavic way of saying it.
Oh, okay, all right, thanks.
It's exactly the same thing. It's just in Serbian.
But why do that now? They've never done that before, as far as I've known.
There's a wave of hyper-nationalism running all through the world, Ian. So
so this is its
people
Brexit
want-
name.
yeah, exactly.
This is the okay. All
yeah,
right.
they want to go back to the roots and assert their cultural.
Serbian people are very nationalist. They have like big pride, and that's what they wanted the world to know. I guess that they want them to go by their Serbian name.
But what does that mean, Martin? You're from kind of that part of the world. How close are you growing up in Poland?
I don't want to say anything wrong because I have friends in Serbia, but they are a very nationalist type of environment. They also
And what does nationalist mean? What word are we using nationalist to escape saying?
You can say it. I cannot say that.
all right. Just check.
I'm doing a movie in Serbia.
It just sounds like something's missing. It sounds like it's nationalist.
Okay.
Martin's talking like there's a sniper across the street. He can't say nothing.
We're doing a film there in April. I cannot say too much, but let me tell you this: if you Google the most problems with racism, with hooliganism, with racial abuse and some other stuff was in Serbia in the last decade or so. Yeah.
Well, fuck it. Then it's Red Star Belgrade. Then I'm gonna. That's what I'm saying. If that's the attitude they're gonna have, Red Star Belgrade. All right. Lazio 1, Atletico Madrid 1. Did you guys see the end of this game?
Yeah, best goal ever scored by a keeper.
Goalkeeper last seconds.
That's crazy.
Took a header. Atletico Madrid is doing what they did. They do. They're up 1. They're holding on to the lead, and everybody comes down for this free kick / corner, and boom, cross comes in. Goalkeeper, nobody's marking him, heads it in. Pandemonium. So Lazio and your boy, ex-Chelsea coach, gets a point.
Yeah.
And Barcelona versus Antwerp, we talked about that, but let's not get excited. That was Antwerp 5-0 Barcelona. Feyenoord versus Celtic. Brendan Rodgers, not good. But he was in Holland, so we'll see. What do you guys think of Real Madrid versus Union Berlin tomorrow? And is Union Berlin being coached by an ex-Real Madrid player? Is that Xabi Alonso's team?
No. That's Leverkusen.
No, it's Leverkusen. Yeah.
Oh, that's Leverkusen. Okay.
Interesting. I'll tell you guys interesting story about Union Berlin because I spent part of my childhood in the 80s in East Berlin, which was the communist side of Germany, the East Germany. And Union Berlin was there were 2 teams, Dynamo Berlin and Union Berlin. They were both they had the biggest support in East Berlin. So they were in the communist side of Germany, and Union Berlin was struggling ever since up until like 5 years ago, and now they built something special there. But that's originally both Leipzig, as a matter of fact, Leipzig and Union Berlin. They're originally East German teams, and East Germany struggled post unification. The only two teams were allowed to Bundesliga, and then both were relegated, I think, the next year. So the Eastern teams, it took them a long time to build up, to the standards of Bundesliga. And now you have two East German teams in the Champions League, and both are really well-run, well-oiled machines, well-run teams.
Well, let me ask you. So Poland was communist when you were growing up, right? So you could go to Berlin.
But there was East Berlin. Berlin was divided by two different pieces. So East Germany was part of the communist bloc, which was Czech Republic, Czechoslovakia, which is Czech and Slovakia. Now they're two different countries, which was Yugoslavia. Now it's 7 different countries. It's Serbia, Croatia, Bosnia, Montenegro, Kosovo, something else that I forget.
And Red Star.
Macedonia.
Belgrade.
Yeah, Macedonia. So Bulgaria, Romania, Hungary, and of course Soviet Union, and that was the Eastern Bloc. So they were part of the Eastern Bloc. East Berlin and Union Berlin and Leipzig were part of the Eastern Bloc.
How many World Cups did West Germany win? Not Germany, West Germany.
West Germany won, I believe, 4. No,
Three.
Yeah. You remember when
they were tied with Brazil, right?
Yeah, they were tied with Brazil and Italy for 3.
Yeah.
And you remember when West Germany won 3, and then the wall came down? If you're a soccer player, you're like, Germany gonna win it all the time.
Yeah, because Matthias Sammer was playing for East Germany, and he was the best defender in the world at the time. Yeah, I remember that.
So how come Germany hasn't done better they've won 2 since, or 1?
1.
They won Euros, I believe, once. In 1996, they won Euros, I think, with Bertie Fox was the coach. Oliver Bierhoff scored the golden goal, and they stopped the game. That was the only time when they had the golden goal in the major competition. So they won that game in 1996, and then they won in 2014.
But isn't that weird that they were better as a soccer nation, like when half the country couldn't even participate, and now they can? And even the one time that they did win, they had a Polish player. Like they kind of cheated, and Turkish players, yeah,
and 2 Polish players, Podolski, Klose, and Izzo.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, isn't that weird? You'd expect more from Germany as a whole, like now that they're unified, but they play better when there's communism.
Well, they have they have a huge crisis. They just let go of Hansi Flick.
Yeah, and it's weird. They're trying to get what's his name, the ex-Bayern coach,
Nagelsmann.
Who didn't get along with the Bayern players, and the whole German team is mostly Bayern players. So, like, what is the sense of them doing that?
I
don't think Bayern players wanted him to go.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Kimmich and Null wanted him, actually.
Okay. No, so now it makes sense. All right, I get that.
But I think with the World Cups, it's just so tough to win a World Cup. You see, there's very rarely repeat winners. I think in recent memory, Brazil is the only one who's come close to it, right? In 98 and 94 and 2002.
Right.
Yeah, but Ian is right. Ian is correct. I remember those old World Cups very well, and I can give you a list. 1970, Germany finished 3rd. 1974, they won. 1982, they were 2nd. 1986, they were 2nd. 1990, they won. Yeah, they were like the most successful national team in that period between 1970 and 1980 in the world. And then, not anymore.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like, oh, they're going to get even more resources and more players. They're going to, like, run this game. And then,
because Germany wasn't bad. They did well in the World Cup. I think 74 and 78 and 82, I think they were pretty good. 74 especially. I know they did go to quarterfinals.
Yeah, now they're doing terrible. Japan just beat them, but everybody's sleeping on Japan. Like America got offended like right before the World Cup when Japan beat them before the World Cup. But Japan is not a game, you know.
Yeah.
Like there's a player who did Real Madrid played. Who did they play this weekend? They played some team, and I think they have a Japanese player on that team.
Sociedad.
Sociedad. And do they have a Japanese player?
Yeah, he was
Kubo or
ex Real
something?
Madrid. Yeah.
Man, let me tell you something. He balled out, bro. It was crazy what he was doing out there, just effortlessly. Yeah, I don't know how he didn't make it at Real Madrid, but that's football. Bayern versus United. Go ahead, guys. Go feast on that. What's your opinion on that tomorrow? I know, Martin, you probably have some strong opinions on that.
No, listen. The Champions League is different. It's completely different. I wouldn't be surprised if you guys get a result, but I don't think you will. But I wouldn't be surprised if you will, because it's, Champions League is different, and maybe there is some sort of response that needs to happen. Although Bayern is with her Harry Kane, they're definitely the favorites.
Let me tell you some of the reasons why I don't think we'll get a result tomorrow. Kim Min-jae. Harry Kane. Jamal Musial. Goretzka. Kingsley Coleman. I don't even know if Manuel Neuer is playing. Alphonso Davis. Leroy Sané. I mean, Serge Gnabry. They're stacked, and they're just stacked, bro. This is like, I had my doubts about us beating Bright, but
well, here's the thing about Bayern.
And we're going to Germany.
They're very fast on the wings. You think you can protect your wings defensively?
That's the problem.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, let me also give another player, Serge Reguilon. Like, I've never seen him play that good for Spurs. He really surprised me. I thought he had a dope game, and Dalot had a good game. But listen, we might have injuries warming up for the game tomorrow. That's how good we are at injuries. So, but them dudes are fast. There's no Wan-Bissaka tomorrow to stop anybody coming down there. There's no Shaw. There's no Malacia. Harry Maguire's not even playing tomorrow. He didn't even take the trip. He's injured. I don't even know if that's a good or a bad thing. That's how injured we are.
So who's gonna play in the back four?
Maybe Martinez and Lindelof centre, won't it, with Dalot right and Reguilon left.
Yeah, but if somebody gets injured or just any type of an adjustment, that means we might see Johnny Evans. That's going to be crazy. So it's, Rasmus will get more time, so that's cool. But yeah, man, it's
But you have like some, even if you like lose this game, I think you have Copenhagen and Galatasaray after that.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. The most important game this week for Manchester United is Burnley. Like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like I don't think the fans will be. I don't to be that upset if we lose. It's bad that we lost at home to Brighton.
Yeah.
But like you said, Brighton is a good team.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had this 31 game unbeaten streak, but the last team to beat us there was Brighton anyway. So and now they came back and did that shit again. So the Burnley, if we lose to Burnley, then there is no, like, people are gonna feel like Martin and be like, fire Ten Hag. So that's the most important game. So we just have to look good and maybe get a result, or look bad and maybe get a result. You know what I mean? We may have to revert back to last season tactics and dismantle trying to, play man football against this team.
Is Hansi Flick available right now? Is he out of work? I would fire Ten Hag and maybe hire Hansi Flick if I was you guys.
course you would. Of course you would.
And then Martin's going to come back 6 months later and say how Hansi Flick, appointing Hansi Flick was the worst decision anybody could have ever made.
Exactly. That's who Martin is. Let me see who else is on playing tomorrow. Any Arsenal PSV? Any thoughts, guys?
Arsenal should win that fairly easily.
Yeah, I think PSV is that like
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't win. They
league?
didn't. Nah, Feyenoord won the league. They
Feyenoord
beat
won,
Celtic
okay.
tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Arsenal's playing, sufficient football so far. I don't think they've gotten out of second gear, but they're still getting the points. And you look at the kind of group they have in the Champions League. It's essentially a Europa League group, which they've been kind enough to give them a soft landing after 7 years out of the Champions League and give them a Europa League group. So basically, being in second gear would work against such teams. You don't really need to go all guns blazing and try and get all 3 points. So I think they should win. Just keep doing what they're doing.
I think you're right, but also the thing you're right about the most is that it feels like a Europa League group, which is dangerous because Arsenal doesn't respect being in a Europa League, as last year they got tumbled out of it and played a bunch of subs. So if you don't want Arteta approaching this like he feels like this is the Europa League or they'll lose. But yeah, they should win tomorrow.
They might rest some of their best players because they know there's a big team.
That's a problem.
This weekend, there's a huge team coming next weekend, hungry, young team that is ahead of them in the table. So,
oh boy,
I say you play everybody. You play everybody, and then if you need to, you've spent so much money, Arsenal. You got the depth to be like, you spent money, so believe in these players. You know what I mean? You should feel like how De Zerbi feels. And you should play. The only person I would question is Havertz. And I don't want to be hard on Havertz. I just hope he can get his stuff together mentally. So Real Sociedad versus Inter. That's also tomorrow. Any thoughts? You don't have to have any. It might be just some shit we just have to watch. Say again?
No. It's just depressing to see all these games. Like even seeing the schedule. So many teams all over the continent playing Champions League. This is crazy.
And who's not involved?
Yeah, I don't know.
What's the name of the team that's not there?
Yeah, some team that has blue for the home kit and the away kit.
Yeah. So Lee, you just came from seeing Ipswich versus Southampton. How was that?
Not good.
Oh shit! For real?
I mean, it was an improvement on our last two games because the previous two games we lost 5-0 to Sunderland, 4-1 to Leicester, and in both those games we conceded in the first minute. Whereas today we waited like 30 minutes before we conceded. But we only lost 1-0 tonight, and it was a mistake. It was us trying to overplay at the back. Well, not overplay. It was a comfortable situation, and then a player made an individual error. They went through and scored. Amari Hutchinson, who's on loan from Chelsea, scored the goal. We had a lot of the ball. We were probably the better team on the balance of play, but we just didn't have a cutting edge. Che Adams had a big chance that he missed. We had some other opportunities, but we didn't really create that much clear-cut chances. We had a lot of the ball, and then just final third, the crosses were always off, or the ball was always off. So we weren't great. Ipswich were organised. They've won 6 out of 7 games in the league. I wasn't that impressed with them, but they were organised. I'll give them that. And they're getting results, and that's the main thing. Kieran McKenna, ex-Man United coach, he was one of Ollie's staff. He's their manager now. He got them promoted from League One, and he's doing a great job with a team that was only in League One last year. They've added a few players in the promotion, but yeah, they were solid. They got their result. We weren't good enough. 3 losses in a row. And then at the weekend, we go to play away at Michael Carrick's at Middlesbrough, another ex-Man United coach. But Middlesbrough are bottom right now. He hasn't won a game yet. They've drawn 2 and lost the rest. So that'll be an interesting one on Saturday.
Also,
Good to
former
know that.
Tottenham player. Let me correct you, former Tottenham player.
Who
McKenna?
did he win the Champions League with though? Carrick.
Hilarious. Okay. Yeah.
I think he won it with United.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
I want
I
to
think-
think too if he loses every game in Championship.
So what?
I also want him at United if he loses every game in the Championship.
Now I know I got 2 teams in the championship because I got to root for Ipswich, and I already knew I should root for was it Middlesbrough? You said?
Yeah.
Is it-
Weirdly,
yeah,
Kieran McKenna, who's the Ipswich manager and was the former United coach, he's also a former Spurs academy coach. So he's been at Spurs as well.
Oh, okay. What's up with how did you told me that he's playing for Ipswich today? How did he play?
Brandon Williams, he was okay. Like he carried the ball forwards well a few times. He worked hard. He also got robbed a couple of times in possession by Edozie from us. Edozie took him on a few times as well. But those 2 had a good battle. But yeah, he was solid enough. He got subbed off with like 20 minutes to go. They brought a more experienced fullback on to just try and steady it and hold on for the win. But yeah, they did what they needed to do, Ipswich. Like I said, they're very effective at getting their results at the moment. So, and yeah, Hutchinson, who's on loan from Chelsea, I was impressed with. Like I say, really, really quick as well. He was direct. He was always looking to run in behind or run at people. So, yeah, it was just a frustrating one for us to watch us just not create good enough chances. But yeah, we didn't concede as many as we have in previously, so there's some improvement, I guess. But we need to start getting results.
Let me ask you so what's your take in terms of looking forward from Southampton? Because I remember the last time you were relegated from Premier League, you went all the way down to League One.
Yeah, but that was because we were a financial shit show. We were in a mess. We had a points deduction.
Are you worried that could happen again or not?
No, we won't get relegated, and we're not in a financial situation because we've made a staggering amount of profit off of all these players we've sold in the summer. The problem has been the turnover. The players who've left were a lot of good players. The players we brought in haven't gelled yet because a lot of them came in right at the end of the window. And the players who stayed, a lot of them have got, I would say, almost PTSD from some of the managers they had to play under previously. So they've gone from playing on. They've gone from playing under managers who didn't want to have the ball. They wanted to play. They played for managers who wanted to sit off and then press and try and win the ball high at the pitch, but didn't really know what to do when we had the ball. And now we're going into like a heavy possession style where there's a lot of patience and the game's a lot slower. And some of them can do it, some of them can't. So yeah, it's a learning period. The manager still hasn't played the same team 2 games in a row yet, I don't think. So we're 7 games in and he doesn't know the best team yet, but that's because we've had so much comings and goings. So hopefully I'm hoping it will settle down. We'll figure stuff out. The style of play will get across because it's fans have been getting a little bit antsy after these 3 losses in a row. 3 losses in a row is hard to take at any level. Like questions that get asked. I don't think he's in any danger just yet because the board trust him and the players like him. So we'll see how we get on. But if we lose to Middlesbrough on Saturday, when they haven't won a game all season, and if that makes it 4 losses in a row, it's just hard to get out of that negative cycle. The players looked like they were short on confidence tonight. They were lacking in that area. And that's like we spoke about at the start of the show with United, where as soon as we conceded a goal, we went to pieces for the next 15 minutes and almost conceded another. And then the second half, we were better. But and those games where we conceded opening minute previously, and there's been 2 other games this season where we scored and then they scored straight away. So just mentally, we've got some issues as well, but hopefully the manager can sort that out.
So what
You guys got head down syndrome. You guys got heads down syndrome, and I hate that United has that. Like, even when United plays Spurs, Martin, I gotta admit that even if we had gotten that penalty, I still don't think we'd have won that game. Like, I just don't ultimately, like last year when we went on that run of winning those 1-0 games, and I think Everton was one of them. We start grinding it. I was like, oh, we're learning how to grind shit out. And not only did the players start believing themselves, but the fans did. Like, we went into that game against Newcastle at Wembley with so much confidence. Like, I don't think anybody, there was a chance we could have lost, but nah. But that's not the vibe this year, and everybody knows it. And like, even if they'd have given us that penalty, we'd have taken it, we'd have scored it, I feel like Spurs would have still won. So here's the question I want to ask all of you, but I guess Martin, but this includes Chelsea. Like,
can I just ask one thing to Lee about Southampton before we do that?
Go ahead.
So Lee, so what has to happen for you guys to come back to the Premier League?
We have to win games. it's pretty easy. At the moment, where the players are too weak mentally, we're conceding goals too easily from mistakes, and we're not scoring. So all of that.
So if you would be asked to put your money on it, would you put the money on Southampton going back to the Premier League or not?
Not right now. I think we'll finish. I think we've got a good chance of finishing top 6, finishing the playoffs. But right now, based on what I've seen so far, especially these last few games, we haven't got the killer instinct and the mentality to finish top 2.
All right. So here's my question: Is it fair, right, for Manchester United fans and Chelsea fans to compare their lack of success to the success that Ange Postecoglou is having now at Spurs? Because we're dealing with, like, basically new coaches, and if, like, he can at this point turn Spurs around as fast, even though the Spurs played us, so I can't say they haven't had any tough games on their schedule, but a lot of fans are comparing and saying, oh, well, how come Spurs got turned around so fast? And they also lost Harry Kane. And United, our coach has been at it for over a year. Pochettino, like, I get where there's difficulty there because they had a good preseason. They sold people, but then by the time the window closed, they slid in like 10 more players. So they filled in the people that they got off the roster with new strangers. So then it's like Chelsea still has kind of the same problem. But do you sometimes compare, Neil, like your like slower progress to Chelsea's? I mean
to Spurs? No, I mean, because a lot of these things when like Pochettino's been at the club for a couple of months, same with Postecoglou, right? Like everybody's at the beginning of the races, like, and clearly it's a project at Chelsea, it's a project at Spurs. The only way you can actually judge a project is when the project's finished. What do you have, right? What did you accomplish? So I mean, it's too early right now. I think the only thing you can judge is whether some of the decisions that have happened, even at this stage, where it didn't make sense at the time. And there's like a million holes I can poke at decision making in Chelsea, which I haven't agreed with since day one. And at Spurs, I think it's more balanced, right? Like, I think the Postecoglou appointment was perfect for where the club was at that time. And they seem to have got a lot of these key decisions right. And but again, we'll see, right? Like, the season's just begun. I mean, obviously the bar's quite lower at Spurs. As I said, like, if he just does, if both Postecoglou and Pochettino do the same things at these clubs. Postecoglou will be termed a success, and Pochettino will be termed a failure. Like if if they end up winning a random trophy and just finishing top 4 at the end of 4 years. So we have to kind of put that into context. You kind of have to put that into context too, right? So wait, didn't Spurs already go out in the cup?
Yeah, they're out.
Yeah, so I mean, unless they're trying to win the Premier League, they're not in Europe, and so there's only the FA Cup left for this season. So and then we'll see again, right? We'll see next season. So, yeah, like decision making wise, definitely at Chelsea, I feel like it's so scrambled, and it's just one bad decision after the other. I think it's currently the ownership is tracking at a 2 out of 10. Like if I have to give them a rating, so
they're what?
They kind of at a 2 out of 10. Like if I have to give the ownership a rating of all the things that they have done. So yeah, I kind of feel bad for Pochettino because I don't know how much power he has, and it seems like he's just being given a whole lot of like, even if you're doing a project, everybody at your team can't be a project. You just compare it with something like Spurs, right? Like they're a project too, but they still have Human Son. They still have somebody like Richarlison. They still have, Brungardt, Madison, who apparently, if Matt Law from the Telegraph is to be believed, Chelsea could have gotten him, but didn't because they have now a rule of not getting anybody over the age of 25. And Madison was, I think, 26 or something. So it's just...
He's 1 year or 2 old. He was legal.
Yeah, it's just stupid. Like, that's not how you build a football club for success. So, yeah, there's a lot of question marks. In terms of the way we've played, I think we've looked okay in the terms of how we've played, and that shows up in a lot of these underlying metrics. But we just can't score, so it doesn't really matter what else. Like the entire fan base is going into so much of heartburn over Ben Chilwell playing as a left winger and Colwell playing as a left back, and a couple of other players playing out of position. Part of that is because we've had 12 injuries, right? We're in the 5th game of the season. We already got 12 injuries. That's an entire half of the squad that's out. So he's having to put people in makeshift positions.
But you still got 30 other players to replace those guys.
Yeah, we don't. See, that's the other thing. We send everybody out. We sold so many players. We sent players out on loan. And now we're faced with the injury crisis. So, but having said that, we still played well. So even though injuries are partly to blame, we still put people in positions to score, right? Mm-hmm. And then they haven't scored. So would that really have changed if the injured players were there? I don't know. Maybe within Ngoku, somebody who's got a proven track record of scoring. But yeah, so I think we're just gonna keep having more of these games where everything follows the same pattern. Like our good games turn into draws, our average games turn into losses, our bad games turn into absolute disasters. So I don't know where the 3 points are coming from.
Martin, do you compare?
Yeah, I mean, we're 8 points ahead of Chelsea at this point. No, sorry, 8 points ahead of Chelsea right now. I don't understand what Chelsea is doing really, and the same with Man U in terms of building the team. I listened to Jonathan Wilson, and he made a point that Man U spent 8 times more than Brighton on the teams that they lined up for the game, and you would maybe take 2 players from Man U to Brighton, or maybe 1, to that starting lineup. And same, I look at Chelsea, how much money they spent, and to be quite honest with you, I don't know if I would take 1 or 2 players from your team to my team. It's just a lot of misjudgment, it's weird decisions like selling Mason Mount, who is a local product, and he was beloved by fans, and then you sell him and bring some very expensive guys, unproven like Caicedo and Cucurella for no particular reason. I mean, it's just since Bolly, I will tell you this: since Bolly bought the club, the value of Chelsea deteriorated more than the Russian ruble since the start of the war. It's a complete disaster since
I think the Russian ruble is back up. I would love to be the Russian ruble.
you would love to
The
have
Russian
your
ruble had a dip and it came back right up.
Because I'll tell you what, Abramovich, you know, I'm not getting into the ethics and all that stuff, but since he left as the owner and you got this owner, everything it's just such a huge difference, you know, in terms of how the club is being run. I mean, it's unbelievable how poorly Chelsea is run under Belly. It's just unbelievable.
But it's by design, though. It's not like, I don't know why it should come as a surprise. The ownership came in and they made the decision to absolutely start from scratch. So it's not even the same club anymore. You just have the same colors and the same badge. But literally every employee at the club, even the backroom staff, has changed. You know, obviously the entire squad has changed. And like, if not for the Chelsea Pitch Owners Association, who, you know, own the naming rights and the stadium, you'd probably be playing at a different stadium too. So everything has been by design changed. So why should we, like, if you just put a random new club in the Premier League, yeah, these are the kind of results you'd expect, right? So
your owners came in there and treated Chelsea like a team that just got promoted.
Yeah, exactly. Like Nottingham Forest.
And they didn't want to trust like the players that got them promoted. So, but in this case, they're not trusting the players that got them a Champions League title, and you just buy a bunch of players to replace those players.
No,
like they've destabilized Chelsea more than like first world countries destabilize the governments of third world countries so they could prop up like what you just mentioned, that list of like even the field, people that take care of the field, people that cook the food, like the medical.
The lunch ladies are gone.
The lunch ladies are gone. It's like that is all that is a domino effect, and it's not good. You can't change that much. That's pretty bananas.
And there's no need for change. Like at the end of the day, they took over a team that was third in the league and comfortably third in the league, and had an elite manager in charge, and had a team that needed a few pieces here and there, but you know, was in the title race before injuries hit. So you kind of needed, like, I'll be very honest, I was a little bit sick of the Abramovich ownership because I felt there was so much room for improvement. You know, just like I'm saying that, you know, like at that point, I think they were a B plus, and I feel like, you know, we could have, if you're at a 6 out of 10, there is room for growth, right? But I didn't know that these guys are going to come and completely take 10 steps back because they want to win in 2031. Like they're going about this project as a project from scratch, where we didn't need something like that.
But
what is young players?
Yeah.
What is the fan base saying, Neil? What is the fan base saying? Are they like fed up with Belly, or is he like the hated guy?
I mean, he is a hated guy, but also people are wary of jumping the gun too soon. Because at the end of the day, there's also a theory that, hey, it's just been a year, 15 months, right? So let's not judge him too soon, because they told us it's a project and projects take time. My question is, it didn't need to be a project like this, right?
I love how your fans are not jumping the gun on an owner who's constantly jumping the gun on every aspect of the team.
Also, we've seen the experience of United, Arsenal, Liverpool fans, right? Protests against the owners go nowhere. It's never happened. It's never been successful. It
almost worked for United.
You've been trying for how many years? 15 years now?
We almost got them to sell. We incepted them with the idea, and they thought about it, and they went through the process, and they said, nah.
But Neil, tell me this, because I remember I was still a full-time sports writer back then when Abramovich bought Chelsea. And, you know, I read that book. I was in London at the time. I was covering it. And then they bought all those players that made sense. Veron, Makelele, Crespo, And immediately in the first year and first 2 years, they were, competing in the
But
quarter.
again,
They won the
but
title.
no,
No. But let me ask you
again-
this. So he hired people. I think Peter Kenyon was the guy he brought from Man U, a proven executive.
Yes.
Who is making decisions with those buys? Who is making who is in charge of getting players, building a team? Who is in charge of that?
So you see, I'll tell you the difference, right? So the difference was that so Chelsea started competing right away, but Chelsea already were the fourth best team in the league before Abramovich took over. So it wasn't that huge jump, right? And
right before Billy bought the club.
No. Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. It was a very similar status. But what Abramovich did, he didn't completely cull the club to the ground. He did use players like Lampard, Terry, promoted them to. In fact, one of the things that absolutely shocked Abramovich was that he thought he was buying a club with Zola in it. But Zola had made the decision to retire at the end of the previous season. And Abramovich bought the club and he was told that, wait, Zola is retiring. Not retiring, like he's going back to Italy to play. And he tried his best to get him to change his mind. But Zola's like, I've given my word, I have to go. So that's I still see the mentality of a guy, Abramovich. He didn't want to completely start from scratch. He knew he got a good product and he only wanted to improve that. Another difference, what was one of the first significant, yes, it happened 12 months later, but one of the first significant changes he made was hiring Jose Mourinho, right?
Peter Kenyon from Man U, the executive.
Peter Kenyon, yeah. So let's look at Jose Mourinho first, right? He hired a Champions League winning manager. What was one of the first things Boli did? He fired a Champions League winning manager. So that's your difference right there. Like you're saying, Peter Kenyon was from where? Manchester United, the golden standard at the time, right? That's the guy you
treble winners
got. Who has Boli gone and got? Executives from Brighton, from Monaco, from RB Leipzig. Yeah, but so these are all project teams. So we're left with a project, right?
Well, Boli came in and downgraded. When Abramovich came in,
he upgraded.
Added.
Yeah, but who's the Peter Kenyon of Boli? Who is the Peter Kenyon from Boli?
Paul Winstanley and Lord Stewart from Brighton and Monaco. So why are we surprised? And these are not clubs that are ahead of Chelsea in the pecking order, even at the time Boli took over. So, we are left with decisions. And so we're trying to do a project, but the problem is we're doing a project with Man City. We're doing a Brighton project with Man City money. That's why it doesn't make sense to anybody. Like if I told you the same thing where we are right now happened with like about $200 billion spent, trying to be okay with that, right? It doesn't sound that bad anymore. But now we had a $1 billion in outlay and we are left with a team significantly worse.
Yeah. So what do you think of your chances are against Aston Villa, who are not playing games this weekend? The only thing is you're at Stamford Bridge, which you haven't sold yet. But this team, Unai Emery, like I think they got 9 points. They've won 3 out of 5, and they just rolled over somebody this weekend. What do you think of your chances against Villa?
I think we can keep a clean sheet, but beyond that, can't really tell you. Because again, as I'm saying, right, like regardless of how doom and gloom it looks, Chelsea is actually playing decent football. And we're creating a lot of chances and we are keeping it tight and compact at the back. I think, we are among the least, like top 4 of the least goals conceded, top 4 in XG, I think we're second in expected points or something like that. So it's just that we can't finish scoring goals. Like we can't finish. So if one of these guys has a good game in front of goal, that's all we need, really. But everybody knew this is a problem at Chelsea by the end of last season, and we went and got Nicholas Jackson, who's got half a good season in the La Liga, and Cole Palmer, who's a 18-year-old kid from Man City. So yeah, my expectations are based off what we've been doing. I just find it fascinating that, pundits and journalists, they all cheer on the transfer window just because a lot of money is being spent. But then they actually don't see the real steps that have been taken. Are Chelsea actually addressing the problems from last season? I don't think we have. So I'm not surprised that we aren't getting the 3 points.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I think journalists address headlines that'll make their paper sell. Like that's why Athletic is good, because sometimes people want real information, and most of the time you can get it from them. Like, they'll do like real stories and stuff like that, and that's why they can actually like sell their publication like for a price, and people are like, all right, let me, I want to read that article, because it's not sensationalism. And I guess one more game I want to go this weekend. I'm gonna ask Lee, what you feel about Liverpool and West Ham on Sunday, and how do you feel about Liverpool, period? I've been preaching that y'all got to watch out, the league got to watch out for Liverpool this year, and so far, if they get in the top 4, it's just going to be less spots for, like you were saying, Lee, like the top is going to be crammed, and for them to like put themselves in there and stay in there, I just don't see how they're going to fall out of the top 4 based on how they played so far. I know it's a long season. You can't make a call on anybody, but let me see if you feel the way I feel.
Yeah,
and even West Ham.
Yeah, I mean, they're looking a lot more balanced, Liverpool, with that midfield rebuild that they've had. And yeah, they got dangerous players who can score goals. So they did well to come back against Wolves at the weekend from a setback as well, going 1-0 down. So yeah, they've got quality players throughout their team, and they look a lot more balanced this season. So yeah, I think I can see them getting top 4. The game against West Ham will be interesting though, because this will be, I think, another one like when West Ham played Brighton and they just looked to try and hurt them on the counter. I think Liverpool, even when they were, having one of their better seasons, they were a team who were open on the counter, especially with how high their fullbacks go. So be interesting to see if they are a bit more pragmatic on their end, Liverpool, to try and not get countered on, because West Ham have got the players who can do that. They weren't quite good enough to hold out with it against Man City, but they still played well in that game. Obviously, my boy Ward-Prowse put them 1-0 up, another goal for him. And obviously they got dismantled because City have got the quality to do that in the end to any team. So I think they can definitely go to Anfield and get something if they're on top of their game, but they need to be on top of their game. If there's any weaknesses there, then Liverpool will find them. And I mean, obviously Liverpool got to be the favourites for that game. I would back them to win it, but it's not beyond the realms of possibility that West Ham could go there and pinch a draw or even more.
Yeah, I'm looking at, like, I watched that game and it was a really fucking good game, like super entertaining. And West Ham went up 1-1, and it was one of those games where Haaland, I wouldn't say missed chances, but he had opportunities, but he finally got one. But the thing that impressed me was, even though the possession game for West Ham wasn't that good compared to Man City, you know how sometimes like a team plays a really good possession team and they just try to go on fast breaks, and then the fast breaks fizzle out and they lose the ball, and then they come back under attack. West Ham now has quality players in midfield to like pass the ball around. So they only had the ball for 31% of the time, but the way they played with it made it look like it was 45% of the time. And that's how good their midfield is. And they got, like, Paqueta's there, Kudus is there, and Ward-Prowse is there. I was like, that's what you do. Like, I would compare West Ham to Spurs in a sense that Spurs sold Harry Kane for almost 100 mil, and West Ham sold Declan. But what they used to replace them were players that cost less but are just as effective. You know what I mean? Like, both these teams are doing better, win or lose. after selling their best player. And I thought West Ham was going to be in trouble this season
Yeah.
because they're going to be in a tougher competition in Europe. And we knew they were going to have to sell Declan Rice, and we didn't know what they were going to replace him with. And the fans already hated Moyes. And they did lose last weekend, but it was valiantly to Man City. You know, they didn't get crushed. So I'm as a United fan, I'm worried about playing West Ham because their midfield feels better than our midfield right now. They don't put their heads down, and the way Antonio is playing is bananas. Like, props to him. He's aging like wine, you know. And Ward-Prowse is dangerous. Bowen, his touch has gotten even better. It's ridiculous some of the things that he did. He scored a goal a few weeks ago. I think it was offside anyway, but it's so yeah, they're West Ham is definitely a better team. So Liverpool, even though they're playing at Anfield, you have to be like, they beat West Ham, and you have to give Liverpool the thought that they're going to finish top 4 after last season, how bad it was, and that this is just going to cement that fact of how good Liverpool is. Martin, you have any thoughts on this? Or you have something to say? Martin, can you hear me? Are you dead?
Yeah. I mean, I like the Harry Kane, Declan Rice thing you said. Although it's hard long term to replace that level of talent. But yeah, Ward-Prowse definitely proving that he belongs at this level. And he's a very good player. I liked him at Southampton, and I feel like that was a good situation for him. If he went probably to a team like City, Liverpool, or Man U, he wouldn't be as effective. And if he went to Chelsea, especially, but
why?
But
why?
But I still can't believe you sold Mason Mount to Man U. I mean, that made absolutely no sense. But anyway, Ward-Prowse, you can be proud of him, Lee. He was your best player. Now he's the best player at West Ham.
Hilarious. All right. So, do you guys want to have any parting words on this episode?
I'll give you the fantasy rundown quick.
Oh yeah.
So let me just go into it. Me and Martin both didn't have a great week this week.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder who had a good week.
Neil's making up for that horrible season last season.
Hey, this guy got me some points today.
See his new jersey?
He got me some points.
That jersey.
Yeah, Neil's
fly,
climbing. Neil's up to 9th. He got 51 points this weekend. He got Lamptey got him some points as well. We're talking about Lamptey's performance against United. Salah and people as well. So yeah, Neil's in 9th at the moment. Martin's in 23rd, and I'm in 26th.
How many people in the league this season?
34. But I gained on Martin this week. I'm only 4 points behind him now, so I'm at least reeling Martin in. I had Ward-Prowse on my bench this week, though. I put him on the bench against City because I thought City will just dominate that game. He won't get anything. So I had Ward-Prowse sitting on my bench with 7 points. If he was in my team, I'd be above Martin right now. But top of the league, I think he was top last time we did this, was Eric Hergenreder. With 313 Stretford End, so I'm guessing he's a United fan. Yeah, he's number.
Come on, United.
He's number 1. Need Mo Salad. Ahmed Zekri is in 2nd place. He went up to 2nd, and then High Ground FC Craig Oliver in 3rd place. So that's the top 3, and that's where our teams have placed as well, scattered throughout the league. Hopefully, we can start bothering that top 3 soon if any of us can put a run together. Neil's looking the most likely right now, though.
Yeah, Neil's not fucking around this season. He's definitely has made a concerted mental effort to do something with this team and, clap back on the league. So, yeah, it's good. It's good. You see him rubbing his hands when It's
Yeah.
fantasy league time. He's like, if Chelsea's gonna be unpredictable and make crazy decisions that I can't count on, I'm gonna make some good ones for myself.
I actually got lucky because Lamptey was on my bench, but then Gahey didn't play, so Lamptey got bumped up.
Hilarious. Well, dope. So that's it. We're done. Martin's fucking beaming. That smirk on his face. His team is doing good. You earned that smile. But let's see how long it lasts. Lee, sorry about Southampton and its woes down there in that championship. Hope y'all turn this around. I don't even know if I should hope that Chelsea turns it around because I don't need you to get ahead of us. But
I mean, I don't even know what we're aiming for right now. Like, it's funny when Hudson scored that goal. I usually, like, when a player goes to Forest, I would wish them well, right? But now I don't know if Forest is actually a rival of ours. So I might have to hold back on that.
Hilarious. At least put him in your fantasy team.
Yeah, now that I know what his price is, I can maybe put him on my almost common team.
Yeah, before he goes up.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe on YouTube. I'll be at Magoobies in Baltimore, headlining this weekend, September 21st to the 23rd. 5 shows, 1 Thursday, 2 Friday, 2 Saturday. You guys got anything you want to plug?
My shows in the Netherlands coming up. They're on my my link tree online on my Instagram, which is Lee Hudson Comedy. So if you're in the Netherlands, I'm there at the start of October. I'm in Rotterdam and Amsterdam, so check that out on there.
It's an international league.
Yeah, go catch Lee.
Yeah.
Go catch Lee on Europa League nights.
Already too.
We didn't hear you, Martin, because you're talking over Neil.
The Ten Hag might be in Amsterdam at that point too.
You wish.
Go scout the next United manager.
You wish. I'll tell you one thing, we fire him, we're getting Deservy. So
Oh boy, somebody's getting deserving.
somebody's getting Deservy. So,
I don't think he's staying in Brighton after this summer.
yeah, exactly. So hey, it's not like it's gonna be all bad. But I say we stick with him. We got issues. Let's work them all out. Yeah, that's it, guys. Peace. Thank y'all. One love and one.
Hey.